The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Mannin Line.
Pastor Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Max Radio. Your chance to have your say, your view, your opinion on whatever you want. We're open line today through till 1. You can text on 166 177. Email studio@maxradio.com. You can WhatsApp on 07624 166 177. And also, remember, with a WhatsApp, you can send us a voice message if you want to. And call 66 13 68 on the phone. I got some questions came in across the weekend about what's happening to the Castletown golf links and to the proposed building site there. So we'll look at that. Also, the plans for the derelict Liverpool Arms. What's happening to the private patients unit? And are we ever going to get one back? And are work permits still being perceived as a barrier for people looking to relocate to the Isle of Man? This possible thought of relaxing the work permit legislation or getting rid of them temporarily. Anyway, lots more to talk about, including the asking to step down as a role of a minister for the Department of Infrastructure. I don't know what you call being asked to step down. Is that being sacked or is it being asked to step down? What do you think, Howard?
Oh, hello, Andy. Yeah, it's curious because Chris Thomas has been, to look at your website, sacked. And the man has been given, as I said there, only recently the poison chalice. It used to be the hospitals, but now it's the DOI. But Chris Thomas himself is a decent man, but they never hear any of the civil servants. Chris Thomas has been the DOI and took over what was left or remnants of it, and he is now taking the can for all the mistakes that's been made in the past, which is totally unfair. There's been no question of what civil servants, civil service hierarchy have been involved with this Liverpool landing stage, which is becoming a farce. And it'll be £100 million by the time they're finished, at least, because they keep chipping in a bit here and they're chipping in a bit there. But I would like to see the reason coming from government, not from the minister, because he's only allowed to say what he's been told. And also, Alf Cannon was in Treasury for many years beforehand, and he must be au fait with what was going on within the civil service when the plans and the directions and the construction contracts were drawn up on this Liverpool landing stage. And it's farcical that the minister, the man that's just been sacked, was not party to it. The civil service and their consultants are the people that actually drew up the contract. And why was it, and it's kept very quiet, that the landing stage will not be able to be used properly at night? It's a £100 million project, and they won't be able to use it because of the rules and regulations put in that heavy goods can't go down. So if the Ben McCree wants to go in, not the Ben McCree, the new Manxman or the Ben want to go down, they can't load vehicles on. They can only load possibly cars and motorbikes.
That's it. Well, that's been known from the beginning. I mean, the whole contract with Peel, I mean, there are a lot of extremely expensive apartments built around this. This is not any old docks. This is a high-value development. Liverpool Waters, the old Mersey docks, which Peel Group bought, this is posh. We're going into a posh area, and they've said from the beginning, first of all, they can't operate overnight, so heaven knows what's going to happen to the overnight boats during TT, but no freight can go. They've always said absolutely no freight. So why they wanted to make it suitable for the Manxman, heaven knows.
Well, just, the no freight, There was no overnight, and you say in a posh area. Well, you've got a £78 million vessel there, and you're going to be £100 million landing stage and a building. So you're talking about posh, and that's from the Manx taxpayer.
Yeah.
So posh and posh. You've got two lots there. You've got a posh apartment, which people are making a profit on, selling them, buying them. But also you have to have a lifeline there, possible, if anything happens in Heysham. So who was actually doing the consulting and signing the contracts? Let's find out who they are.
Well, do you remember the words of Chris Robertshaw, the former MHK? Chris Robertshaw said, "We sent Vauxhall Conference negotiators up against the Premier League."
Exactly. That's exactly what's happened. And it was the same with the promenade. That was farcical and all, and it's fallen to pieces now. I was along the promenade yesterday, and there's potholes and places are sinking. But that aside, we're talking serious money here. They're talking about £120 million to build a power station, which has served adequately for quite a number of years. You've got something here now that's going to be 100 million. I keep saying that because you're up in the 80 millions now, and the contingency, they say, stick another 10 million. It's going to be £100 million plus, and it's farcical because it's not going to be of any use. And as you just rightly said, what about the evening boats? They're talking about another fast craft later on. Well, that was the one that serves Liverpool, and it's like an airplane. It's not making money unless it's in the air. A boat is not making money unless it's sailing.
Well, as you say, Chris Thomas was given a shovel and shown a pile of muck and was told that he had to move it, but he took the job. He took the job as DOI Minister, so presumably he knew what he was taking on. But as you say, there's a legacy of problems and situations that had to be dealt with. And now, obviously, they have a relatively new chief officer. Emily Curfey is in charge of infrastructure as the chief officer. The two other political members, I think Stu Peters is a member of infrastructure, and the MLC Dawn Kinnish.
Well, we haven't heard much from Stu Peters, except that he wanted to get rid of certain items, but that was only a fly in the ointment. It's neither here nor there. It was just something to make his voice heard, what we call a maiden speech. But the real problem is within the civil service and the hierarchy there, because this is not something, as you say, that is off Chris Thomas's making. It's off the civil service who done the negotiating, and they sent in the clowns against the warriors, and the warriors have come out on top, and they're still milking the system, the warriors, and they will do until the government is bled dry or there's nothing else to do. But there should be civil service people sacked, because if this was a private business, they would have been getting a P45 and halfway down the road by now. So let's have some common sense come into it and put a public inquiry into where this money is going. Because all you do is it was going to be 30-odd million, 40 million, 50 million. Then it's up to 70 million. And now they've asked for another 10 million. And it's just like pennies. And it makes me very annoyed that the minister there now, Chris Thomas, has been literally sacked. And the civil service are still there. They're career people, and they're going to be coming out with a pension at the end of the day for a complete cock-up. Excuse me.
All right. Thanks, Howard. Good to hear from you.
Bye now.
All right, all the best. And David's with us now. Hi, David.
Hi, Randy. I'll talk to you another day about Mr. Thomas and the DOI department and its future. But I want to draw to your attention, the people's attention, especially the people of Rushen. It's to do with June Watterson as the Speaker of the House of Keys and a member of Tynwald. On the Tynwald agenda, item 17, which is intriguing to me when you look at it. And then the motion's coming from Julie Edge. I don't know whether it's Julie Edge as a spokesperson from the Council of Ministers or just a member for Onken. But it's the headline is removing the Speaker from the Tynwald Standards and Members' Interest Committee. and there's a bit of blurb there. It's only short, so it'll be subject to a debate. But I want to back up the independence of the Speaker. The Speaker is put in by the House of Keys members to look after their interests and protect them in a certain way. And June Watterson is one of those guys which are, he's in it. He knows it from back to front. And the other thing I find quite strange, because in Miss Edge's commentary here on the agenda is because of a conflict of interest. Now, I just wonder, where's that conflict of interest coming on? Any member has a conflict of interest, declares it, but never sits if it's debating. Say, Mr. Watterson had shares in, say, Manx Telecom or something like that, which he doesn't, I don't think, anyway. But he would declare those interests. But to have a debate on removing the Speaker, I hope that some of the members look at the background of this. What's going on there?
What do you think's going on, David?
Well, I think it's probably he's been rubbing a few sore spots on maybe some of the ministers' departments. Could be the DOI as well, and it could be especially education. There could be something there, and that's why they're wanting to remove a person. So it's for the Speaker. And in the blurb there too, it says the Speaker of the House of Keys may not serve as a member of the committee. Well, who is she to say that the rest of the members won't want Mr. Watterson on the committee? He's done a great job in the past. He's very clinical on stuff. And I think maybe, and I'm praising out there, hopefully the people down at Rushen are probably listening to this and get behind Mr. Watterson. I hope the other uncle in MHK, Mr. Collister, does and say what he's done in the past. He's done nothing to be excluded from a committee. When the committee is originally, when it's first done, actually put in by the members of the Keys. But I don't know whether she's going to. I'll be listening to the debate on Tuesday. Hopefully it'll be later on so I can listen to it. But I'm just putting it out there that as far as I'm concerned, if I lived in Rushen, Mr. Watterson would be getting my support totally.
Okay, well, we'll watch that very carefully. Thanks, David.
See you, boy.
Good to hear from you. And Betty's with us now. Hi, Betty.
Hi, Andy. I'd just like to say, first of all, that I agree with Howard. I think he's full of sense. He's got a lot of common sense, and he says some good things. That's not what I came on for, though. As far as the work permit is agreed, I don't think we should stop having the work permit. For one reason, because temporary often goes into being permanent. I've noticed that in the past. And the other thing is, we don't have houses for the people we've got. Never mind bringing loads more people in to do these jobs. And another thing is that we need people coming in to be scrutinised. The island gets a good reputation for being safe. We do not want people in who spoil that reputation.
Why do you think if it's brought in temporarily, it'll slide to being permanent?
Because things do seem that does seem to happen on the island. I've noticed it in the past.
Okay.
Right. And the other thing was we really do need to scrutinise the people coming in. And it's worked quite well for us in the past. And if people want to come over here, they should be prepared to wait while whatever they are is looked into.
Okay. All right, Betty. Good to hear from you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Andy.
Cheers now. Right, to 21 minutes past 12. And Bonzo's on now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hello there. Yes, just to come on to David Quirk's thing first about this motion on the Speaker. I can see where Julie Edge is coming from on this. because it's a question of the policeman of the quays shouldn't write the laws, nor should he be on the jury when the laws are broken and someone is put forward for punishment.
So
that's a conflict of interest.
Right. Okay.
But
hasn't it worked fairly well up until now?
Well, you can debate yes, you can debate no. The thing is that the way things are constituted at the moment, it depends on the speaker, doesn't it?
Okay, and that wasn't why you called, was it? No.
No. What I was calling was Chris Thomas's dismissal. Let's call it what it is, by Canon. Chris Thomas has done a valiant job of defending the indefensible, but you can only defend the indefensible for so long. And I think the straw that may have broken the camel's back is the motion before Tynwald on the supplementary order paper for more money for the Liverpool ferry terminal. Now, it's not just for 10 million. If you look at the motion, it's Part A, which is the 10 million, and then there's Part B, which is whatever it takes from the capital contingency fund in order to complete the project. So, A writes the 10 million, and B writes a blank cheque to however much is in the capital contingency fund. Now, there's also, I'm told, Treasury has a facility to expand the contingency loans fund without Comin or Tynwald approval. So what could happen is that more money could go into the contingency loans fund that then gets lent into the contingency fund, so that even more money can go into the Liverpool ferry terminal project.
So do you think they know do they know something we don't know about the state of the landing stage?
Well, I think that would be for them to say. I mean, we've heard already how much work has had to be done on the half-tide dock because of the scouring effect of the Mannin multiple thrusters, and actually the general state of the half-tide dock was rather worse than was presumed, as I remember rightly. But we've gone from a situation from I was looking at somebody put this up online, front page from the Examiner, and 2016 it was, what was it, 2017? 2017 was £20 million, the terminal. Now we're at £70 million, right, and asking for another 10, and then asking for a facility for more on top of that. So, as Howard rightly states, I think it will top out at 100 million plus. Now, I was arguing when the last tranche of funding was granted, additional funding was granted for the ferry terminal when it was 40 million. I was arguing, look, this is like the TSR-2. For people who don't know about that, this was an extremely expensive military aeroplane in the middle 60s that was going to replace the Vulcan, and it was hugely, vastly expensive. And had spent about 85. UK government had spent about 85% of the money necessary on it. But the thing was that it was just going to be too expensive to get it into operation when other people weren't buying it, because it was supposed to be bought by the Australians and by the Germans. So they cancelled it, even though they were that far in, because otherwise it was just going to be another money pit. And I was talking to single members about this and saying, look, at 40 million, this is a TSR2 moment. You don't know how much more this is going to cost. You've got to cut your losses.
Yeah, but the trouble is we don't have any alternative because our current berth is going our current berth will become a cruise terminal. We can't go to Birkenhead anymore because they've changed the link span to fit the Northern Ireland Stena boats. So this is our only option. Our only option is Princess Half Tide Dock.
Oh, we could have another link span on Birkenhead, surely.
Well, that's owned by the Peel Group, so that will be up to them.
Yes, but, gosh, we are a bit stuck. But the idea of I think there's another site that is slightly further down the river, which is Associated British Ports, Garston, isn't it? I think it's just past the airport. That's another place that could have been used, and I think was examined.
But I mean, at the moment, Bonzo, we're in for £75 million. I mean, surely we have to now just bite the bullet and pay the rest.
Do we? I mean, that's a gambler's thesis. No, that's the gambler's fallacy. I'm so far in, I've now got to play through from my losses.
Well, what do we do?
I think we have to have some very blunt conversations with Peel and say, right, this is where it stops, and see you in court.
Well, okay.
Peel as a company has done very well out of the Isle of Man. It's about time Peel started putting something back.
Okay, all right. Bonzo, thanks for calling. Good to hear from you.
Bye.
All right, 28 minutes past 12. Stephen's with us now. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Andy, and good afternoon, listeners. I am a constituent of Chris Thomas, and I still support his manifesto, which is policy, and I support his ability that he's so far done within the DOI. But I would like to just remind the listeners of some things. As Bonzo says, a cynic might well consider that the 10 million asking for is a way that the Chief Minister can link Chris Thomas to the problems of this policy. But of course, that's not true, because it's been going on for a long time, and I agree with what you say. We're probably in so much now that this project has to be completed. That doesn't mean to say that there shouldn't be a full inquiry to ascertain what went wrong, why it went wrong, and who was responsible for it. I do think that should be considered, but I'd like to remind the listeners of some things. Now, it was interesting for the Chief Minister to say that he was going to take over the responsibilities of the DOI Minister and look to change some of the department roles. But we must look at, I think your reporter, Phil Gorn, this morning reminded everybody that the budget that the DOI has had to operate itself within has had successive cuts. And lo and behold, who was the Treasury Minister that has been overseeing these cuts has been Alf himself. So it seems to me to be peculiar that on the one hand he's saying that I need to take over this because these departments of DOI will still not have enough money, even if he's running the show. So I do think that there is more to this than meets the eye. You will remember at the public meeting we organised for the MDC development, another arm of government which has got little control or regulation to it, and I think the ability of that company is to raise 100 million in total. Now that's a heck of a lot of money, and I worry that is Coleman becoming merely a rubber stamp to perhaps push forward the policies of the current Treasury Minister and the Chief Minister. And I don't think that's what Coleman is about. Coleman is there for every minister to say his piece, and sometimes I do hope there's a robust discussion. and challenge to these departments. And it shouldn't be one where the Chief Minister gets rid of those people who possibly do challenge robustly what some of the others want to do. Because then we've got nothing more than a group of people who all agree with each other, and that is wrong. And heaven knows there is a great deal of wrong things going wrong on the island, and we need people to say, well, is this the right way we're proceeding with this policy? I think I'll give you an example. The last hustings meeting for the last general election, which is going into the dim and distant past, we were up in St. Ninian's School Hall, and the school hall had areas of decay from the roof. And I pointed that out to the candidates there, and I did say to Chris some time ago, has the budget's been increased to do the maintenance? And the answer was no. So if he's not getting the budget from the Treasury, how can these things be resolved? And we all look around the island, and maintenance is a big issue. So for me, I think that we probably will never know, but I do think there's big issues, big problems going wrong, and I do think and hope that we will hear more. But certainly the issues over DOI is budgetary, and as your reporter said, Phil Gorn, there has been cuts over successive years, and how can any minister conclude with that?
It's going to be interesting to see what happens to the shape of DOI in the future, because it's often been said that, it's an amalgamation of previous departments. It's a very big department, possibly too much for one minister. So do you think in any way it should be broken up from its current shape?
Well, I don't know, is there anything wrong with it in its current shape if the various board members are giving proper responsibility and ability to run their remit within the responsibility. But one thing seems to be clear. I think, what did they ask for a simulator for the airport, for example, to help with the training of the air traffic controllers? This is all inherited problems that the current, or the ex-minister now, has had to consider. And you can only do so much with the money available. So I don't think anything will change unless there's more money available. You can only spend £1 once, and once that pound is gone, there's nothing left. So I think it's easy to blame even the civil servants within that department. They've had successive budgetary cuts. And what can they do if you're getting the budget cut?
Interesting. They say, don't they, when the financial tide goes out, you can see what's left on the beach, and I think we can now see what's left on the beach, Stephen.
I'm afraid that is absolutely true, and I do think that we've got to get out of this idea that government can do everything, and now government, in my view, should be facilitators. They should do the core. They should absolutely do the core services, which is hospitals, police, fire engines, schools, etc., etc. But should we have the government having an arm's length company that is investing? Now, let's be clear about this. They are investing in property. No one really knows who's going to run it afterwards. We have also, in working in tandem, they want to create housing associations. That, again, is putting it out of responsibility. So there's big issues that do need to be examined, but we must stop this idea that government can run everything, or even equip arm's-length companies such as MDC to do these things. If you have a quick look at the Westmoreland Road site, there's two things to consider. One is the site was in the strategic plan, was put down for 37 houses. Now it's 137, which is a huge percentage rise. And secondly, they have the ability to raise money on the open market, backed by Treasury. Now, these things have to stop. We've got to start becoming, the government must be facilitators for the private sector to do some of these projects. And I do think there's big issues to discuss.
We'll see. I think, didn't the Jane Crookall planning got passed, I think, this week? Is that right?
Well, no. I think that, it hasn't been to planning yet. There's been 50 objections, naming a lot of the issues. What has happened is that the Westmoreland Village name seems to be being quietly dropped, and now it's the Crookall House development. That was supported by Douglas Corporation, which is strange when a lot of their ratepayers have not supported it. So I do think there's big issues to discuss, but I would hope within Coman there is robust discussions, and if you present an alternative view, then it shouldn't mean that you are fired from Coman. Surely it's important that the Council of Ministers hear the different discussions, because goodness, around the island there's a lot of people dissatisfied with this current Coman and the administration. You know that, Andy, by the callers you get on Mannin Line.
Okay. All right, Stephen, I appreciate your view today. Thanks. Good to hear from you. 22 minutes before 1 on Max Radio. Well, the state of the Department of Infrastructure, known previously, well, do you remember the DHPP as it was? Department of Highways, Ports and Properties there was a transport department, and now infrastructure. So it goes way back into the 1980s. Arnold Callan was the minister. David North, which is where Fort North came from. Tony Brown, John Shimon, Phil Braidwood, David Anderson, Phil Gorn. David Cretney was infrastructure minister for a few years. Lawrence Skelly, Phil Gorn, Ray Harmer, Tim Baker, Tim Crookall, now Chris Thomas, and now not Chris Thomas. So what's going to happen to this enormous behemoth of a department? The Department of Infrastructure, covering highways and airports and harbours, quarries and works and planning, estates, architects, the meat plant, animal waste, public transport, reporting to the department. You've got the MEA, the Manx Utilities now, local government, the planning report in it, health and safety report in Road Transport and Licensing Committee. It's an enormous, and when things start to go wrong, then suddenly it comes back to Department of Infrastructure and the Minister, and Chris Thomas has gone now. One thing I will point out to you is that in 2016, when they proposed that the Prince's Half-Tide Dock was the location of the new steam packet ferry terminal, the original budget, don't laugh, the original budget for the new ferry terminal in Prince's Half-Tide Dock was £3.5 million.
Wherever life leads you, let us lend a hand with an HSBC personal loan. Maybe you've got big plans for a special celebration, new car or home renovation, or you want to get your finances in order by consolidating your debts. We offer competitive rates and a quick decision process. You'll be able to access your funds as soon as we approve the loan. Search HSBC Loans and get in touch today.
View full terms and eligibility criteria on the HSBC website. HSBC Bank PLC is licensed by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Summer is here. So check out the King William's College Summer Activity Camps, taking place at the Buchan School, Castletown. You'll find a fantastic range of age-appropriate activities for children island-wide, aged 8 and over. There's cookery, arts and crafts, multi-sports, music and more running through to the 1st of September at just £35 per day or £150 for a 5-day booking. For more information, visit the King William's College Facebook page or see online at kwc.im.
This is 199 Radio Caroline.
Greetings, pop pickers. Let's travel back to the 60s with 2 days of music and fun, August 5th and 6th. Saturday starts with a tribute to the legendary Caroline North. Dress in your most fabby 60s gear and browse the special shop window displays. Then freak out to the Ian Thompson Band in Murag Park. Then on Sunday, Masons in the Park bring it right up to date with local bands from 1 p.m. Plus, there's vintage cars and buses, barbecue, bowling and fun for all the family. early and entry's free. Supported by Manx Solar Electrical, Q Plus Callow and your nation station, Manx Radio. Groovy!
I'm Mike Buttle. On Tuesday evening, as part of Manx Radio's Island Life series, I'll continue my look at the Isle of Man Steam Railway with a nostalgic journey along the old Peel line. I'll be chatting to a few people who have great memories of the trains and of working on the line.
I've travelled on the train into Peel. I was sent to buy a pitchfork.
But one of the things I always remember were the flower beds in between the two sets of tracks.
So a lot of the tools and the methods that they used were from the very early times of railways.
That's Tuesday night at 6 and available as a podcast afterwards at manxradio.com. Tickets, please.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
18 minutes before 1, faster by. Good afternoon, Monday lunchtime on Manx Radio. Vivian's on now. Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Andy. I was brought up, if something goes wrong, it's not just the workers that are wrong, it's the man at the top. And I think the man at the top of the Manx government at the moment is not working very well.
This is Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
And why do you think that, Vivian?
Because he's very good at criticising others, but what is he doing? Because he doesn't do very much. Or what comes back to the community, let's put it that way.
So, I mean, what sort of thing are you expecting at the moment then from Mr. Cannon? I mean, he's acted this weekend, he's got rid of Mr. Thomas.
I know. Because he doesn't like Mr. Thomas, so he's getting rid of him. And that's what he did with Rob Collister. That's what he does with anybody. But hang on, can he do the job any better? Because listening to people today, I don't think he can.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see. Vivian, thanks for calling.
One man cannot do all the jobs.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Vivian.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye. Now. Howard's back. Yes, Howard.
Hiya, Andy. Just coming back on. Listen to when you reeled all the names of the ministers that were with the DOI.
Yes.
Now, that was over quite a considerable number of years for all those people. But, again, there was not one mention of any executive that was with the DOI on the civil service side. I know I keep going on about this, but they are the ones that are there all the time. And they could be 20, 25, 30 years within the government. But the ministers or even an MHK can be in and out in 5. And the voice behind them is coming from the civil service. Now, I would like to see, and I would like people to act upon this, that they want a public inquiry into who and why the money was allowed to run away like it has done. And again, ask the executives, the chief executive. I know we got a new one now, but the previous ones, there's not been one mention of the top guys or women or whatever it is within civil service, and they must be fully conversant with where the money's gone and why it's gone and who was responsible. And this is where the question should be asked. You see all the furore about the two ferries up in Scotland. They were going to be 90-something million. They're now 6 years overdue, and it's going to be 300 million. Do we want to inherit something like that? And that was with the Scottish government. And they put it into a shipping yard up there that went bankrupt after a very short time.
I mean, the kind of the answer is in the title, Howard. They are civil servants. They are meant to serve the elected representatives.
They are basically advisory. The ministers are the people that we, who are the people of the island, have elected. The civil service are paid by us through our taxes and taxes to business. And they are employed by us as advisors. They now, the dog, or the tail is wagging the dog now. And the civil service is dictating the rules and the running of the ministers. And if your face doesn't fit, you're out, or life is made extremely difficult. So let's have some names from the civil servants, the executives, who are very, very well paid and going to come out of this, even after we've gone bankrupt, with a damn good pension.
Okay, all right, Howard, thanks for that.
Take care.
Cheers, now. It's 14 minutes before 1 on Manx Radio. I just wonder what you think of what Howard says about naming civil servants, naming the executive officers. Depends how far you go down. Is it just the chief exec? And probably they might say, I'm not going to speak for them, but my suggestion would be that they only get it in the neck when things go wrong. When things go right, the civil servants may say, well, the minister or the politicians will then take the credit. They're the ones that cut the ribbons when things get opened. So how far does it cut both ways? Anyway, Chris Thomas accepted the role as the minister. And like previously, he's gone to the back benches and will attempt to bolster his vote for the next election, says Janie. Janie says Chris Thomas was constantly cynical in response to queries and questions, both from colleagues and constituents, and it's caught up with him. After all, the minister is the department, and the department is the minister, says Janie. Have you got any thoughts on this? This is the story today that Chris Thomas MHK has been asked to step down, shall we put it that way. Has been asked to step down by the Chief Minister, and he has gone from being the Minister for Infrastructure. John just said, words fail me. The expense of the fireworks, the cost for the new steam packet party. We haven't got money for meals and activities for children during the summer holidays, but we spent £2,000 for a party for dignitaries on the Manxman. I think it's wrong. I think it's shameful, says John. Well, that's your opinion, John. Thanks for that. I mean, on the other side, maybe it was against the cost, the £90 million it cost, so £2,000 where that stands is not a lot compared to 90 million, but we take your point. Back to the lines with Edward now. Hi, Edward.
Hello there.
Hi, Edward.
Pastor Mike, Andy.
Pastor Mike.
What I want to talk about is the new Ben McCrea. It looks like an excellent vessel of the steam packet company.
This is the new Manxman, yeah?
Yeah, the new Manxman, yeah. The original Manxman was launched and built in 1955, which is the year of my birth. And a late uncle of mine actually served the Kittercurr. So I took around the old Manxman when I was about 4 or 5 years of age. It was a special time for me.
When was this, you say?
Anyway, a late uncle of mine was on the catering car.
Oh, I see.
On the Manxman.
Okay, this is the...
I
see.
Yeah. Quarter, which was on the bow end of the ship.
Wow.
The ABs were in the stern of the ship, but he was on the bow of the ship. And he should be his quarters. And he was not far away from where the anchor chain went down. And he explained it all to me, even though he was only about 4 or 5 years of age at that time. Anyway, I'm going to get to the point now, Andy.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine last evening, and he informed me that the new Manxman, which is supposed to be environmentally friendly, burns 43% more fuel than what the Ben does.
And how does he know?
So I would like to hear some feedback on this matter. And also, while I'm on it, I want to talk to you about the Liverpool landing stage, Andy.
Okay.
Which I was really not... I'm a Manxman, obviously. Born the Isle of Man, lived in the Isle of Man all my life. And the thing is, the Isle of Man government, in their infinite wisdom, decided to commute £30,000 to the landing stage in Liverpool, at that time, I have to say I was against it, but that was their decision. Then it cost £7,000, and where I am now is I see later it end up as £100,000, Andy.
£100 million.
£100 million. That's why I say the final figure ending up, Andy. To be brutally honest, and at the end of the day, we are not going to own it, are we?
No, it's not our land. We'll own the building. We just won't own the land that it's on.
Yeah, it seems to me like to be a bit of a waste of money, Andy, doesn't it?
Well, all right. Thanks, Edward. It's good to hear from you. Well, I haven't been, the old Manxman hasn't been talked about for a long time. I'm trying to think, didn't she? She broken up, it must be 10, 11 years ago. She was broken up at Sunderland, wasn't she? They were trying to preserve her, but I think all sorts of videos went around that. The old Manxman built, I think it was 1950, actually built in Birkenhead at Camel Lead when they used to build ships on the Mersey. Thank you for that, Edward. What's going to happen? Now, I've just got to get to Thelma's query, by the way. Thelma in Ballasella asked me what's happening with the Castletown golf links. Malew Commissioners has deferred discussions about the golf links to a private meeting. The clerk of the commissioners, Barry Powell, says the authority supported the initial planning application but is going to need to look at it again and seek advice on demolition notices before the board can move forward. This is Barry Powell.
Well, essentially throughout the whole process, the commissioners have supported redevelopment on that site. Now that this decision has been reached, we have always said that because there has been calls over the years for demolition of the site, so the planning has been exhausted. We'll now look at that again and decide on how best to go forward with it and take advice on that. We'll need to find out exactly how the process works because as a board here, we've never actually ordered any demolitions in the past. So it's something that we need to take advice on how best to proceed, and then the board will make that final decision on whether to proceed or not, or how to proceed or not. As far as I know, DEFA can issue them as well. The legislation is with the local authorities, so local authorities have the power, but also DEFA do as well, so potentially they could come and order a demolition if they wanted to.
Well, that's Barry Powell, clerk of Malew Commissioners. We tried to get somebody from Dandara on to get a statement from them, but they sent us a written statement and they said, whilst we are naturally disappointed with the outcome of the appeal, particularly as our planning application was submitted almost 6 years ago and it's taken until now for a final decision to be reached, we're nonetheless pleased the inspector reached positive conclusions about the principle of delivering a new hotel with residential development on the site, which is what Dandara want to do. Going forward, we look forward to working with the planning authority and other parties to produce a redesigned scheme which addresses the inspector's concerns. It's clear to everyone the existing building is long overdue for replacement. You say that again, with a modern, well-designed development, and we trust the planning authority will help us achieve this sooner rather than later. The words of Dandara regarding what's happening at the old Munster's house, the golf links.
Every drop is precious. Water. So easy to take it for granted, isn't it? Our reservoirs supply the needs of our island, but with the effects of climate change, that's becoming more challenging every year. Manx water is the only water we have, so we need to make every drop count by using it wisely, at home, in the garden and in general. Visit manxutilities.im to find out how you can begin smarter living, to lower energy bills and reduce your impact on our island environment.
Whatever your business, whatever its size, you can always rely on the island's leading fuel and oil supplier to keep you moving. Ellen Vannin Fuels, powering the island and powering industry. Call us on 844 000.
Come together for a night of pure Beatle nostalgia with the Bootleg Beatles. Journey through the swinging 60s with the world's most successful and longest running tribute, bringing the sounds and the atmosphere of the Beatles to life for one night only. Book now at villagaiety.com or on 600 555. The Bootleg Beatles, August 10th at the Villa Marina.
Tanya August Hanson and Bill Henderson MLC gave a strong defence of the role and workload of members of the Legislative Council a few weeks back, which incensed Positive Action Group founder and seasoned Tynwald watcher Roger Tomlinson. So, on agenda this week, he gives a different perspective on the Legislative Council in Tynwald. Should LegCo be directly elected by the people? Should the Chief Minister be voted in by the Manx people? Do we really care, provided government and Tynwald are making our lives better? Lots discussed on agenda this evening at 6 p.m. on Manx Radio with me, Phil Gorn. Should Roger be given a medal for dedicating so much of his time to following Tynwald?
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Fast am I. Got a note in from Paul who said, "What a shambles we are. It's time this was brought up. We are to blame. We are, and that's you, are to blame for this. We as the voters voted these soundbite politicians, useless soundbite politicians, into office. Now it's coming back to bite us. There should be no more voting for people who are going to just fix your gate or sort out your row with your council issues. We need a general election to try and encourage people with proper business acumen to stand for the good of our country. Otherwise, we're off down the slippery slope," says Paul. "I've got no confidence in the government." "Well done, Alf Cannon," says Sean. "Well done, Mr. Cannon, for sacking Chris Thomas. This has cost the public a lot of money in very trying times. Increases in driving licence, road tax, never mind the Liverpool landing stage, which is far from over. It's going to cost the public purse a lot more money." You're probably right, Sean. Never goes down, doesn't it? Well, that's it for Mannin Line. Back with another open line tomorrow. Oh, by the way, a week tomorrow, the Chief Minister's on Mannin Line. Stick around for Christy on the way.
WINT